led the NFL with a whopping 19.9 yards per catch average. And on a September afternoon at the Georgia Dome that year, he set a single game record, 63 yards per catch, 3 Kurt Warner passes, 3 Torry Holt touchdowns. The Falcons secondary was still chasing you as we got on the buses to head home to St. Louis that afternoon. In 2003, he led the NFL with 117 receptions, 1,696 yards. And he went on to set numerous career NFL records. Among them, Torry is the fastest in history to 10,000 receiving yards, fastest in history to 11,000 receiving yards. He's the only receiver in history to top 1,300 receiving yards in 6 consecutive seasons, the only receiver in history to total 90 or more catches in 6 consecutive seasons. He's one of just 2 men who have played this game at the professional level to total 1,600 yards receiving in 2 different campaigns. He led the NFL in receptions and yardage for an entire decade, 2000 to 2009. In fact, his 868 receptions that decade are more than any other player has totaled in any decade in NFL history. Ditto for his 12,594 yards, the most in any decade in NFL history. As you saw in the video, he played in 7 Pro Bowls. He missed just 2 games in 10 seasons in a Rams uniform. This despite knee injuries that required multiple surgeries. And I think that clearly speaks to his commitment to fitness and his dedication to his performance. He had a tireless work ethic. He sported a world-class pair of hands. He could turn defenders inside out with precise route running. And he also took with him onto the field a fearless approach to the game. There wasn't a route he wouldn't run. There wasn't a pass he couldn't catch or wouldn't catch. But in addition to being a great player, as most of you and all of you in this room know, Torry Holt was and is a class act. He represented himself, his family, his teammates, his coaches, and the entire Rams organization in a first-class manner 24/7. Torry, on behalf of all of us who either covered you or cheered for you or both, thanks for giving us a front-row seat to a great career. It is my pleasure to introduce one of the NFL's all-time great receivers and one of the all-time great Rams, Torry Holt.
Thank you, Steve. Those kind words were nice, man. It's good to be back in St. Louis and to be back, in this honor, coming in 1999 and being drafted as a young rookie from Gibsonville, North Carolina, NC State University, and have an opportunity to fulfill my dream as a professional athlete. And people that know me, my teammates, and you guys sitting here, all I wanted to do was play football. That's all I've ever wanted to do. My dad knows that. He was telling me a story. He said he never had to worry about pushing me to do something in terms of sports. I get out there and do it myself. So to be able to play here in St. Louis for 10 years and play with the guys that I played with, Orlando, DeMarco, Brother Ray, Aeneas, Corey, Leroy, the list goes on and on, Grant, the guys that I hear, Coach LeDuc, just a tremendous amount of support from my teammates and from my coaches. So I'm excited, elated to be standing here before you guys, retiring as a St. Louis Rams, member of the St. Louis Rams. I want to say thanks to Georgia Frontier, the late Georgia Frontier, Coach Vermeil, Charlie Armory, Al Saunders, Coach Martz, all those guys for giving me an opportunity to come to this organization to play football. I remember Coach Vermeil calling me. I was sitting at home. We was having a fish fry, and he calls and he said, "You want to be a Ram?" I said, "Sure." And then I said, "Oh, shoot. This team was 4-12, 3-13. I ain't really sure. But I do want to be drafted. I do want to come to, I do want to play professional football, so I didn't have a choice. But when I got here and I saw the talent that was here and I saw the men that were here, the professionals that were here, I knew I was somewhere special. And I was able to grow here in St. Louis as a young man and I guess as a man, this city has been so good to my family, to my wife Carla, my kids, just a lot of great memories here in St. Louis, and I'm thankful for that. I also want to thank Mr. Kroenke, Kevin Demoff, Les Snead, Coach Fisher, who I just met with. Coach, you one of the coolest coaches I've ever seen in my life, okay? And I'm going to start wearing my shirt like you, too. Let me open it up a little bit. Start wearing my shirt like Coach. But thanks to you guys for making this day special for me and for my family. Greatest show on turf. Shouts out to Mike Jones and Todd Collins and Andy McCullum and Adam Timmerman, Kurt, Marshall, Isaac, Oz, Todd Light, T. Horn, all those guys that made up that Super Bowl team. I'll never forget those guys. What we shared in '99 and beyond was special. And for us to get to the mountaintop in that fashion, it took a collective effort, took a lot of unselfishness, a lot of encouragement from one another, and just flat out balling. You know, just flat out playing the game that we've all dreamed of playing and having a chance to win a Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. So I'll always be thankful for that Super Bowl 34 team and beyond. Thank you guys for the memories. Thank you for challenging and pushing me to become a better professional. City of St. Louis, thank you. I always tried to make sure that the fans understood how much we respected and appreciated their effort at the Elvis Jones Dome on Sundays and leading up to Sundays. Their commitment, their passion, their love for St. Louis Rams football was outstanding. They gave us so much energy to go out there and perform and do what we do on Sundays. So very, very, very thankful to the St. Louis Rams fans and to the St. Louis Rams community and to the community of St. Louis. I didn't have a lot of stuff planned to say, but I am thankful, y'all. I really am. I hope my mom is smiling, because I've always just wanted to play football. That's all I wanted to do. And from the time I came in here to the time I left, I just wanted to be the best every day. Like, who's going to match me? Like, who's going to match me to be the best every single day? And as I can conclude my career here, now going on to the next chapter, that's the next challenge for me. So it's going to challenge me to be the best every single day. So in closing, I did write this down. I loved everything about being a Ram. And I feel blessed that I'm able to formally finish my career with the organization that drafted me in 1999. The fans in the city of St. Louis have been good to me, my wife, and my family. I feel very fortunate that I was able to come to St. Louis and be surrounded by so many outstanding coaches and outstanding players. This is where it all started for me, and it's fitting that this is also where it ends. So thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for sharing in the moment of being a St. Louis Ram, being a champion. That's one thing that they can never take away from us, is that we were able to bring a champion to the city of St. Louis. And I'm so thankful and honored to be a part of that. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions from the media.
Torry, can we squeeze another year out of you?
If you had asked me this last year, yeah. When I left New England, I thought it was it, and then I went down to Alabama, had the surgery again, got some confidence, trained with thoughts to try to play last year. Nothing developed, and bless my agent's heart, Greg, who tried hard for me. Nothing developed, and it was time to move on. And I don't hang my head about it at all. I had a great ride. I enjoyed every moment of it. I see some of the ladies here that I used to come upstairs and chat with, Roz and everybody, Donna, everybody. I would come up and say hello. I mean, I was in the moment, and I enjoyed it. But to answer your question, nah, I'm done. I'll come back for training camp to help out the younger guys, but that's about it.
So what did you do with your one day? Did you catch any passes yesterday?
No, you know what? It's funny, because I was thinking, I was speaking to Carla, my wife, and I said, you know what would probably be cool if I called Jimmy Lake and I had him set up my locker and get my cleats and get my gloves, get my baggy shorts, and let me run one more deep 7 and shoot it out a jug machine, and I could catch it for a touchdown. I thought about it, but I said, you know what, that'd be too much. You know, let's act like an adult here, I guess. So,
Wait a minute, Torry, didn't you have 2 lockers for all your shoes?
yeah, I did. I had a couple lockers. Yeah, but that's Reebok's fault. They always did the most. But yeah, I had a couple lockers, and I just visited with a young man that's in my spot. So I told him he's got to pick it up a little bit. The tight end, what's his last name? Not Kendricks. Omar. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. I told him he's got to pick it up.
Gave him a little pep talk.
Yeah, I gave him a little pep talk. Yeah, absolutely.
Torry, a couple years ago, career, do you see the greatest show on turf as one of the greatest offenses of all time?
No question. And statistically, it speaks for itself. But I'm gonna go a step beyond that. And the defensive guys, Ray and those guys can attest to this. The practices we had was incredible. Like the way we went at it every day was awesome. So by the time we got to the field on Sunday, it was more like, catch us if you can. And as the year went on, that momentum and that confidence just continued to grow and just continued to grow. But it was a group of men that was unselfish, that had one thing in mind, and that was just being great, and just being good. We didn't concern ourselves a lot about with who was getting the recognition. We figured if we all played well, at some point you'll get recognized, and that's what happened. So one of the best offenses ever in our game, one of the best offensive minds in our game, Coach March. One of the best coaches in our game, Coach Dick Vermeil. So we had a lot of good things going on with that group, and it was fortunate enough that we were able to set aside the nonsense and focus on what was important. That was playing the game.
Torry, a couple of years ago, Isaac was at the podium talking about how you had helped him with what you said, challenging him to be the best. And you guys are almost a sentence, Torry and Isaac and Torry. What's it mean to you to be kind of forever intertwined with Isaac?
Oh, it's awesome. I spoke with Isaac the other day, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Isaac. I said this early on. He's the epitome of a professional athlete. He came in and worked hard on a day-to-day basis. I was able to see that. A lot of us was able to see that, and I tried to emulate that. And the things that he represented off the football field, his faith, his relationship with his family, his relationship with his teammates. Isaac didn't say a lot. When I first got here, I didn't even know if he liked me. Isaac said, maybe 4 words to me. But as the years went on, I understood who he was and why he was that way. But it was challenging for me, to keep up with Isaac on a day-to-day basis. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Isaac. I hold him in high regards. And to be able to come back and retire as a St. Louis Ram with the Deacon Joneses and Eric Dickersons, Tom Fears, the Isaac Bruces of the world, I mean, this is for me, this is awesome. And I owe a lot to Isaac for my career. And I hope the same way he challenged me, I hope I was able to challenge him the same way.
So who do you think gets into the Hall first, you or Isaac, or would you like to go in together?
Shoot, we got to get Chris Carter in the Hall. We got to get Andre Reed in the Hall. We got to get Tim Brown in the Hall before we even start mentioning anything about Torry Holt being in the Hall. In terms of the Hall, if it happens, it'd be great. But that validation for me, like I said, it'd be cool, but this is great validation for me. I got this, I got a ring, got great teammates, great coaches, great family, great friends. That's validation for me. And the Hall would just be like gravy. It'd be that extra cupcake that was sitting over. That's what the Hall would be. Be a tremendous honor, but it's a lot of group of guys that's ahead of me that's well deserving. I hope when my time does come up and you look at my body of work, hopefully, if you respect and love football and know football, hopefully my body of work would indicate me or give me a nod of getting in.
Why do you think it's been so tough for receivers to get in lately?
I don't know. Because they didn't get Tim and Andre and Chris and those guys in, 5 or 10 years ago, which they probably should have been in. Now it's made it a logjam. You got the Marvin Harrisons of the world coming up, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Isaac Bruce. List goes on and on of guys that's going to be coming up. So they've created this logjam. I'm not on the voting committee. I don't know exactly how it works and what their thought process is. But those guys probably should have already gotten in, which I think would eliminate some of this backlog. So hopefully in the next couple of years they can get it right.
Now that you've had some time to reflect, what would you like your legacy to be? How do you want people to remember you as a player?
I gotta have fun. I want my legacy to be, a guy that respected the game of football. A guy that respected his teammates, his coaches, challenged guys on a day-to-day basis. Whether I said something or didn't say anything. Just love playing. Again, this being a childhood dream of mine. How many of us can say that we're doing what we dreamed of doing? I had an opportunity to do that with the helps of my hometown, Gibsonville, and Hargrave Military Academy, where I went to the military academy. I remember my dad dropping me off. He thought it was the best thing in the world because he's a Vietnam vet, so military was right up his alley. Thought it was the best. I'm like, oh, man, can y'all take me back home, like right now? But, getting groomed there and then going to NC State and getting groomed and developing and maturing and still being able to play ball, just recognizing and knowing where I came from, how I got to this point, and then enjoying the moment.
So many times when a receiver is drafted high in the first round, there's not someone else there already that is of the level of an Isaac Bruce. How much did that help when you came to the Rams, that expectations were always high, but maybe not as much because Isaac was there?
Yeah, Isaac was Isaac and Ricky, Oz, and those guys, Tony, all those guys challenged and pushed me in a different way. But it definitely relieved some pressure from me because Isaac was there. He was already a go-to guy. And I just said, hey, if I can get up to the level of those guys quickly, we can be that much better as a football team. So that was the challenge for me. It wasn't, to go out and to catch 100 and some odd passes and 12, 13, 14 touchdowns. If that happened, great. But it was just a challenge for me just to improve my game, to improve my craft. And like I said, if I could improve that quickly, then that would give us a even greater chance to win ball games and particularly be really, really good on the outside.
You talked about the next,
Couple more, guys.
You talked about the next chapter in your life, and over at you guys are kind of reassembling the greatest show on turf there with you and Marshall.
Right.
And I heard how
it's fun because, you know, we got a lot in common, and that's being here and winning, and obviously the Super Bowl and all those good things. But the networks, I gotta thank the NFL networks for giving me an opportunity to transition right into being an analyst, and I'm still working at it. You know, it's a tough job. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of homework, and you're talking, and you got someone in your ear, and then you got to be over here on camera 1 and camera 2 and 3. So I'm learning all those things about the broadcasting business. That's challenging, but you know, it's fun. It allows me to stay around the game. I love talking about the game. I still get a chance to interact with a lot of the players that come through the networks. But to be with Kurt and Marshall and Trent was there as well, just again picking their brains. Same thing I did when I was a player. Now I'm an analyst and I'm picking their brains and just trying to improve on my craft.
Torry, just a tough question, but do you have a favorite play, favorite moment, favorite game?
I would say the Super Bowl, because I was coming into that game with a separated AC joint because Derek Brooks had took his toll out on me the game before. My ribs, I'm spitting up blood, bruised, separated AC joint. And to be able to catch a touchdown in that game and to be able to make the plays that I was able to make to help our team was awesome. So I would say Super Bowl. And then the Atlanta moment, I think Steve touched on that, the 63 yards per catch for 3 catches. I mean, you know, a lot of us athletes, we talk about being in that zone. You know, I was in that zone, and it was awesome. So those are some moments that stick out. And then also in 2004, when we went up to Seattle, we beat Seattle 3 times that year, and we went back up there in the playoffs and we beat them. That was a great moment because it was team ball that was played that day. Everybody gave their all, and we was able to beat Seattle 3 times that year and was able to move on in the playoffs. So those are some moments that stick out in my mind.
I don't think anybody has come up with 2 transcendent celebrations like the bob and weave and then the jump and bump. You still see everybody doing that.
Yeah. It's you know, again, us Roland Williams being silly, he and I being silly out of practice. And a lot of guys know Roland and how animated he is. So he was the best guy that I could go to in terms of trying to create some dances and create some fun and some energy on our football team in our building. But the bob and weave is classic. I had the bob and weave T-shirt on the other day, matter of fact. And then the duck down, they took away the bob and weave. So I said, you know what? Okay, they took away the bob and weave. I said, all right, check this out, guys. Whoever scores and wherever you are on the football field, just duck down. So we scored often. So you would see everybody duck down on the football field. Nobody knew what was going on but our team. So that's the type of fun, that's the type of energy myself and other guys was able to bring to our ball club. And they're still, and then the jump and bump. And they're still staples in our league today. So it's a good feeling to be a part of something that's still going on in our league. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.